All right. So the first, we have two general topics, two general ideas, okay, that I'm going to speak on. So the first idea or the first area is confidence, identity, and self-doubt. Okay, so I had a lot of questions with this confidence, identity, and self-doubt when it comes to your tech career. I hope I'm audible enough. I hope you can hear me well enough. Okay, if you can't, please let me know. So confidence, identity, and self-doubt. Okay, that's the first area. Then the second area is consistency and follow through. Some people testify that their week today, their past week, this week, they were able to be more consistent. So a lot of you ask questions on consistency and follow through. So, for example, under the confidence, identity, and self doubt, people talked about not feeling good enough. Some people said, I feel behind, particularly after joining Queen Harriet Circle. This person said, after joining Queen Harriet Circle, I feel like I don't know anything. I feel like people in the circle are better than me, more advanced than me, and all of that. Somebody talked about a mistake that they had made. There was a mistake they made at some point in their life, and it has caused them a lot of shame, a lot of doubt. They didn't share what the mistake was, and I don't need to know what it was. Please, if you are here, can you mute yourself, please? Can you mute yourself because we are getting feedback from your mic? Thank you. So this person talked about how they are feeling very condemned, self-condemnation, and it has made them to feel stuck. They feel like they cannot move forward, right? Although they didn't share what was the mistake, right? Yeah. So that's that area. Then under consistency and follow through, also under that first area, some people talk about how they feel like their projects are not good enough. Okay, this person after joining Queen Harriet Circle, they feel like, oh, their project is not good enough. Some people talk about how when they take a break from learning or when they take a break from job searching or whatever, they find it difficult to start back again. So when you lose momentum, how do you get that momentum back again? So people asked about that. Yes. Some people asked about, I chose a tech path, or I chose a tech area, but now I feel like I'm having regrets. Some people said that. Okay. So they chose a tech area, but now they feel like they're having regret or they're not enjoying the area as much as they did. Then this person said they are afraid that they are not good enough for tech. They are not cut out for tech, right? No matter what they do, no matter how they try, they're not cut out for it. Then some people are still asking whether I can be their one-on-one mentor. Okay, we still have those questions. I will answer. Okay, that's a question. If you ask it in Queen Harriet Telegram, if you ask it in the Circle Telegram, people will answer you. But it's okay, I will answer. Then so that's confidence, identity, self-doubt. Now, on the consistency and follow-through part, because I'm going to treat these two together. That's why I'm taking time to break it. And that's why I'm also sharing so that if you ask the question, you can identify, okay, the question I asked will fit in this section. So that's why I'm sharing this, okay? So under consistency and follow-through, people talked about being inconsistent in learning. They start learning, they stop. Somebody wrote here, I start many things, but I finish very little. Okay, so I start, but I don't finish. Okay, somebody wrote here, I struggle to stay consistent. How can I fix it? Okay, somebody said here that they feel like they overload themselves with so many resources because there are so many resources out there. So they will take one course in one area, then they will see another course. Immediately they start feeling like, oh, they don't know enough. They will take that course. And when they are taking that second course, they realize, okay, that second course is covering a lot of what the first course covered. But then after that second course, they will see a third course. They will say, oh, I don't. So there's that insecurity that, oh, how do I know that I know enough? Okay. Then somebody wrote here that you want to be successful, but they don't feel they have structure. They don't have a structure to build that success on. That's what this person said. Okay. All right. So let's talk about it. You see, this confidence thing, there was a time in my life that I used to think if I don't feel confident, then I'm not ready for something. If I don't feel confident, if I don't feel like I know something, then that means I don't really know it. Okay. I've come to understand that belief is a bloody waste of time. Yes. That belief is a waste of time. That belief will hold you back more than the actual obstacles that you will face in your tech journey. That belief of, oh, I have to feel confident before I make a move, or I have to feel confident before I attempt something. Okay. So we're going to shift it. We're not going to focus on feeling confident. Okay. We're going to focus on learning to the point that you know something. Let me ask you a question. Do you feel confident about knowing your name? Your name, Vera, Joanne, Marvelous. Do you need to ginger yourself to be able, if someone asks you what is your name, do you have to ginger yourself? Do you have to feel confident? No. No, you know why? Because you have been hearing your name since the day, not the day you were born, because the day you were born, you didn't know you were born. You've been hearing your name since you got to a level of self awareness. Since it dawned on you that you exist, you have been hearing your name, right? So you don't need to feel confident when you don't need to wait until you feel confident when somebody asks you what is your name. Before they even finish asking the question, you tell them. It's because you know your name. Hmm? It's because, sorry, that bread that I ate has seeds. So sometimes the seeds are still there. So it's because you know your name, right? Nobody can convince you that your name is not your name, right? Yeah. That's the approach to take with tech. Stop waiting for feelings. You want to feel confident. You want to feel bold. You want to feel knowledgeable. You want to feel confident. Okay, you can know something. You can be competent in something. You can be knowledgeable in something. That's what I said. I didn't say you want to become competent. You want to be knowledgeable. No, what I said is you want to feel. Is that feeling? Is that feeling? That's where we run into problem because feelings are like air. Have you tried to grasp air? You cannot, right? So my advice with that whole confidence thing, how do I feel confident? How do I feel good enough? How do I feel? It's not the feeling, right? It's not the feeling. It is the knowing. Do you know what it is you know, right? How do you know that you know? When you are tested, you pass. When you are in school, do they just ask you, do you know this? And you say yes or no? No. Whether you say yes, you take a test. Whether you say no, you take a test. Abi? Uh-huh. So it's the same way with tech. So the way you know something is not that you feel that you know it. The way that you know something is that when you are tested, when you are exposed to a situation, or when you are exposed to a problem that requires knowledge of that thing, you are able to solve the problem, or you are able to execute, or you are able to meet the requirements because you know it. So my strong encouragement is that move away from this feeling thing. Move away from using feelings as a basis for moving forward or as a basis for attempting something. Instead, ask yourself, when I am tested, how do I perform? That is a better indicator of your readiness than your feelings. I don't know if it makes sense. Please, if I'm making sense, put it in the chat or send me some emoji. If I'm not making sense, let me know. Okay. So let me give concrete example. I don't feel ready for an interview, right? I don't feel ready for an interview. Now, instead of using that feeling to say, I'm going to reject the interview, I won't take interview. No, take the job description, put it in ChatGPT. Take the job, copy the whole job description. Maybe you remove the company name, remove any identifying information. Okay. Put it in ChatGPT. Then ask ChatGPT, assume the identity of the hiring manager that created this job description and is going to interview me. Ask me 10 questions as if you are interviewing me for this position. ChatGPT will generate the questions in 5 seconds. Okay? Then I want you to now answer those questions. Answer those questions, put it back in ChatGPT. Ask ChatGPT, say, now as the hiring manager, evaluate my answer. See, those are the steps you take to know what you know. But if you are there waiting for feelings, you will wait forever. You will sabotage yourself. You will hold yourself back. Opportunities that belong to you will pass you by. See, let me tell you something. There's something that's very popular that they say on social media. It's so popular, they say it on social media a lot. What is for you will never miss you. It's a lie. It's a lie. So let me give you the truth. Because the way they like to say it is, what is for you will never miss you. It's not true. It's not true. Let me give you the correct version of that. What is for you that you are ready to receive and retain. That is the correct thing. Because let me tell you something, there are many things that are for you in the sense of there are many things that cross your path, there are many things that come into your orbit, there are many doors that open. But if you, Korokoro, are not ready, I didn't say feel ready. I didn't say if you don't feel ready. No. I say if you are not ready for it, as it entered, now so you go come out. As it enter your hand, now so you go drop her. Okay? Yes. So that's how I like to see that saying. What is for you that you are ready to receive and retain. You see, there's some of you that receive things, you don't retain it. Yes. Okay? So it's what you receive and what you retain. That is the one that will not pass you. But if you are unable to receive or you are unable to retain, even when it comes, as it comes, as it go. So don't let those social media sayings deceive you into laziness or into a false sense of security, or don't let those social media sayings make you to deceive yourself that the fact that you have not seen any tangible process, any tangible progress in 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, 5 year is okay. Yeah, so that's what I have to say about that confidence part. Okay. That's what I have to say. Okay. Now let's talk about consistency, because that was a big thing. Okay. Some people talk about, oh, I take a break, I can't get back. I think you are not hungry enough. You say you take a break. Sometimes the break is not you that chose to take it. Sometimes life will make you take a break. It happened to me all the time. When I was learning to code. When I was learning to code, my daughter was an infant. My daughter was on my breast. You understand? So whether I wanted to take a break or not, I didn't have a choice. There were so many, she gets sick, I get sick, she don't sleep at night, so I don't sleep at night. So a lot of times breaks are not planned, okay? Because life does not pause because you're trying to get into tech. Responsibilities don't disappear because you're trying to get into tech. Welcome to adulthood. Okay, welcome to adulthood. That is called being an adult. Okay, you cannot suspend life because there's something you're trying to do. Okay, so sometimes the break is beyond your power. You can't avoid it. Okay, when you say it's hard for you to come back, you know what that tells me? You are not hungry enough. What that tells me is you still have some options. You still have some options that you might think you are not considering them, but you are. You still have options on the table. That's what you're telling me. Because when you get to a point where you know that this is your way forward, nothing will hold you. Nothing will hold you. I'm not going to go into all tactics. No, no, no. There are people there's somebody I know. Oh God. This woman, she was pregnant taking a PhD program. And during her pregnancy was when she was writing a dissertation. And then the time to defend her dissertation came. She developed a preeclampsia, which is high blood pressure during pregnancy. So they had to admit her in her seventh month. Sorry, she was on bed rest from her 7th month. And then in her 8th month, they had to actually admit her because they had to monitor her very closely. Because they didn't want to deliver her early. The baby had already had so many complications. So they didn't want to deliver her early and put the baby in a NICU. So the doctor said, okay, let's admit you to not hospital, but like a medical center. Yes. So she was living out of medical center around the time she was to defend her dissertation. This woman, the school agreed to allow her to defend her dissertation virtual. That is online, right? She didn't have to go to the campus. They made that concession for her because if she did not defend, it would have been another semester before she would be able to defend again. As she was defending her dissertation, she went into labor. As she was defending her dissertation, she went into labor. This woman gritted her teeth and finished defending her dissertation before she delivered that. She was in active labor. See, so there are some of you. See, there's a scripture I love. Some of you, if you followed me for a long time, you will know that when it comes to the scripture, the scriptures are one of my anchor of wisdom. Okay, I don't read scripture, to use it to command people to die. I don't do that. Okay, the way I use scripture is for the wisdom, it's for the deep wisdom inside. There's a scripture that say, if you faint in the day of battle, your strength was small. And when you think about it, you say, wow, somebody got up, somebody did training, did army training, did combat training, went and got armor, and then the enemy showed up and the person went into battle. When you see all of that, it's very easy to conclude that that person is strong, right? It's very easy to conclude that that person is strong. But that scripture says, if in that battle now, that korokoro battle, you now faint, your strength was small. So those of you that, life happened, you have to take a break or you have to deal with something, and then you say now you are struggling to come back, you are not hungry. So the question you need to ask yourself is, why am I not hungry? You are not hungry. You are not hungry. Because if you are hungry, that is really hungry, you will find a way. They say Christ was teaching in somebody's house. The house was so packed. The house was full. Was so full. Nowhere, no standing room only. And there was a paralytic that his friends say, today, you will walk. We have heard about this man. This man is in town. It's like Burna Boy, coming to town. That is somebody that does not live in your town, but he happen to be in your town. You don't know how long he's going to be there. You've heard story upon story of how people are receiving this, receiving. Now, anyway, these friends say, today, we don't know. So maybe they felt, okay, let's go. Upon getting there, they saw that there is no how to enter, no how. Most people will go back to their house. Most people will say it's not my turn. Most people will say it's not my time. Maybe those friends said were even tired of looking after that their friend. See, sometimes we read some things, we like to wash it up, we like to clean it up and make it more noble. Let's see, we are human beings. Maybe those friends were like, we are sick of your ass. We're tired of you. So they got to the door, no chance, no way. Maybe there was even a crowd outside that were still straining their ears to try and listen. What did these friends do? They climbed to the roof and started removing the bricks. Started removing the bricks of the roof. Put their friend on bed, tied rope to the four corners of the pallet, whatever the friend was like, and lowered the friend down on top Jesus' head. Yeah. Okay. So I don't know what to say more than that. Like, I'm not, see, one thing with Queen Harriet, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. So when you tell me, oh, I took a break, I can't come back, don't come back. Don't even come back. It's good so that those of us that came back, our competition will be less. Don't come back. Okay. I want to talk about the resources thing, because that was a very good question. The person said that you take one course, you will feel like you did well, and then you will see another course, you go and take that one, you see another. Okay. The problem is because all you are doing is taking courses. You are not applying those courses. I've taught on this before. You see, tutorials are very essential for pure beginners. Because when you're a pure beginner, you don't know what you don't know. When you're a pure beginner, whichever field, project management, product, engineering, design, doesn't matter. Okay? When you are a pure beginner, you don't know what you don't know. Once you begin to acquire some knowledge, once you begin to acquire some information, tutorials eventually become dangerous. And the reason they become dangerous is because tutorials now begin to give you a false sense of competency. They begin to give you a false sense of knowing when you don't really know. So what I like to encourage people is, let's say you take a course. Let's say you take a course, Introduction to UI UX Design. And as part of this course, you have case studies, you have assignments. The course gives you a number of things. When you finish that course, I want you to work on a project that you did not carry from any tutorial. Ask ChatGPT to give you 3 solid ideas of UI UX projects. And I want you to work on that project without a tutorial. That is what will test whatever you learned or you claim you learned in that course you just finished taking. It doesn't mean you will not use online resources. You can use online resources. You can use documentation. Just don't use a tutorial. There are some people that will tell me, I have 17, especially engineers. They will say, I have 17 projects in my portfolio. Lies. 15 of them, they built with tutorial. In fact, some is even 16. Then the one project they didn't build with tutorial is one small weather app or calculator app. To me, any project you built with tutorial does not belong in a portfolio. You understand me? Any project you completed based on tutorial telling you, do like this, do like this, do like this, do like this. That is not a real project. That is, I've said it before, when our babies are growing up, we mothers, when we're teaching them how to eat fufu, how to eat iresi, how to eat ewa, right? We'll chew it a little bit and give them. We'll chew it a little bit so that their small mouths will not choke. That is tutorial. Tutorial has pre-chewed it a little bit, has massaged it a little bit before it gives to you to do. But you see, you keep depending on tutorial, you don't know shit. If the bulk of your project building and the bulk of your information that you think you have up here is based on tutorial, you don't know anything. So you have to come out of that tutorial area. I don't want to say tutorial hell, now. Come out of that tutorial area into the real world. Come out into the real world and build something from scratch without tutorial. And I'm not saying alone. You will still use resources. You will still use documentation. However, the tutorial is not doing the direction for you. You are directing yourself. You are the one deciding, should I do the back end? Should I do the front end? Should I start with the API? You are the one now making those decisions. Not the tutorial telling you, do API first. Then from API, back end. Then from back. No, you are the one now deciding, how do I want to complete this thing? Okay? So that is what will help you. So now what happens is, in the process of building that thing from scratch by yourself, when you now identify a real knowledge gap, then you can now go and identify a targeted tutorial. You can now go and identify a targeted resource that will help you to fill in that knowledge gap. But you see, that knowledge gap, you discovered it by yourself. It's not the tutorial telling you don't know this. No, you have discovered that you don't know it. You have discovered that you are not very familiar with it. So now you are consuming the resources, but you are consuming it in a targeted way, not in a haphazard way. There are some of you, you will go on Twitter space, somebody will call the name of a course, you will go and jump and get it. Why? 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 Have you asked yourself, do you need that course? Have you asked yourself, what is that course supposed to do for you? See, there are some of you, and God forgive me, I'll say it. Some of you, you behave like, you behave dumb. And I don't, part of it is maybe how you grew up. And I'm not saying that to insult anybody's family, but it's just the truth. There are some of you, you did not grow up watching people direct their life. You grew up watching people be dictated to. There was always somebody dictating. Right? You didn't grow up watching, whether it's your parents, your guardian, your aunt, whoever you were raised around. You didn't grow up watching somebody figure it out by themselves. No, it was always, so if we pay rent, it's because we went and begged somebody. I'm not saying it to be mean. I'm saying it to liberate you. So if you grow up like that, you end up creating a mentality that progress always depends on somebody else. You grow up, you don't have a choice. You grow up with that mentality that progress, for me to move forward, somebody have to move me. Welcome to Queenary Circle, because in Queenary Circle, we'll teach you to move yourself. There are some of you, when you say, I need a mentor, what you mean is, I need somebody to do it for me. I need somebody to think for me. I need somebody to plan it for me. I need somebody to tell me what to do and guarantee that it will work. You won't go far. You will not go far. Okay? So that is how to, I'm not talking about pure beginner. Pure beginner, yes, you will consume tutorial ad nauseum because you don't know what you don't know. It is those that have done maybe 6 months of learning, 9 months of learning. That's what I'm talking to. You need to get to a point where now your consumption of resources is targeted. And it is self-directed. It is targeted by how you are directing yourself based on how you have tested yourself in the real world. You understand? Okay? All right. Now, I want to read, because this person, he wrote a lot, and let me answer this one. Confusion after choosing a career path. It's like a relationship. See, there have been days, have you ever seen them on Twitter? They say, oh, I want to quit engineering and go and start a farm. Everybody has that phase. Everybody has that phase in their. I've had that phase. I've had that phase where I don't want to be an engineer anymore. I want to go and do design. I want to go and do products. I've had that phase. It's like relationship. When you first meet the person, oh my, it's like you can eat their shit. That's how into them you are, right? Because when you first meet them, it's like wow. Until you really until you get to know them, you begin to see their K-leg, and they begin to see your K-leg. So the question is now, okay, if I'm feeling this way about if a tech field that I've chosen, should I abandon it and go and do something else? It's your choice. Just understand that if you abandon it to go and do something else, you will still have to learn again. You will still have to grow again. So I think the better question is, why are you trying to make a decision based on just one dimension, which is how you feel in the moment about your tech field? Why not so that's what I've done. So whenever I'm irritated with software engineering, whenever I feel like I want to quit my job now, because I'm sick of these mother effers that I'm working with, right? Whenever I feel like this software want to drown me because I learn one thing, there's a new thing. I learn another thing, there's a new. And I'm talking about on the job. I'm not even talking about my personal. No, I'm talking about on the job, right? Whenever I feel like that, you know what I tell myself? But the money is okay. Okay. So understand that in life, there are multiple dimensions to consider. If you consider one dimension, just one, you will quit everything you start. If it just come down to one dimension, you have to develop the discipline of considering multiple dimensions. So whenever I feel that way, I will remind myself the money is good. And why is the money? Because that is the money I'm using to travel. That's the money I'm using to do skincare. That's the money I'm using to give my children strong foundation. Like that's the money. So I remember the money. Okay. Then I also remember the time it took me to get to where I am. If I abandon this one now and go and chase another field, how long will it take me in that new field to get to the level I am now? How long? I now think of my network. Majority of my network is software engineers. If I switch to another field, I have to now build an entirely different. So by the time I consider the different dimensions, of my presence in software engineering, that one dimension of I'm irritated with my coworkers, it suddenly is not so important anymore. Okay? It is a life principle. It is a life principle, right? You can apply it in almost anything. That would be my advice there. Okay, so moving on to the next section. So this section is career direction and choices. Career direction and strategic choices. People asked questions like, am I on the right path? Should I add a short-term complementary skill? So this question came a number of times where people said, I'm learning this thing here, but it's not making money. I heard about this other skill, which is somewhat related. Should I start learning that skill so I can start making something while I'm working on making this first skill? So people asked that. People asked about, choosing between a long-term versus a short-term skill. A lot of people asked about how can I avoid wasting time? People ask this question a lot. How can I avoid wasting time? As I'm building my tech career, how can I avoid wasting time? Some people asked about how do I know when to pivot, right? How do I know, how do I tell the difference between something that may not be working but will work if I keep making effort, and then something that is not working and I need to pivot out of it into something else? Okay, so these are all very good questions. Okay, now, am I on the right path? Nobody can answer that for you, right? So, am I on the right path? You won't know until you get there, right? Am I on the right path? What does right path mean? For many people, right path means they are making money. You know, right path mean like there was this TikTok. 12:30. There was this TikTok that a mother was insulting the daughter because the daughter had gotten pregnant. Right. So the daughter was like, the mother was like, how can you? Until the daughter now shared who the father was. And the father of the baby was very well placed in society. The mother's mouth changed. The mother said, I'm so proud of you. So I'm just saying that to say, what do we mean by right path? For many of us, right path means money is coming out. you know so what are you going to do? I think the better question is, according to objective measures of progress, are you making progress? I think that's a better question, right? Objective measures of progress. So for example, if you're an engineer, go to roadmap.sh and look at the roadmaps there. In each of those technologies listed on the roadmap, how are you faring? How are you performing in each of those technologies? If you're performing well, and you're not losing your hair, you're not losing sleep, you're not losing weight, your bones are not becoming brittle because of so I think it's a better question to ask, are you making objective progress? Are you seeing a way forward? Are you having evidence of competence? Are you having evidence of people having a value placed on your abilities? Or have you gone 3 years, nothing, not one thing, not $1, not one income, not one inflow, not one to speak of? You see, that's how I prefer to look at it than to say, oh, am I on the right? What is right path? How do you really know? Yeah. Okay. Let's answer yes. And I want to talk about this, like struggle versus misalignment, right? It can be hard because somebody asked, like, how do I know when to pivot? Somebody asked that question. How do I know that the difficulty I'm facing is because I need to just push through and break through, or it means I need to pivot out into something else? Very good question. Okay. So really what they're asking is, how can I tell if this is a struggle, just a regular struggle, or it's misalignment? Human beings can do anything. We are so adaptable. We are so adaptable. I remember in The Dark Knight, one of my favorite movies. The Dark Knight. No, not The Dark Knight. The Dark Knight Rises. The one with Bane. Yes. And when he's having that monologue that most people love, right? That's the one that, that's the monologue of the movie. When he's fighting Batman. It's something he says. He told Batman, he said, you merely adopted the dark, but I was born in it. I was molded by it, right? So we are very adaptable. We even in the worst of circumstances, as long as there's a will, right? There's a way we adapt to be able to survive, right? So, because of that tendency in human beings, it can be hard to know whether you are in a misaligned situation. Because even in misaligned situations, you can adapt. You can adapt for survival's sake, right? Yeah. So, when it comes to tech, this is how I like to think about it. If your bills were paid completely, I want you to envision a life where some wealthy benefactor just says, okay, for the rest of your life, your bills are paid. However, I still need you to have a career. That's what this benefactor has said. Okay, bills are paid, but I still need you to have a full-time career where you're going to work full-time every day, every work day, right? And you are growing. That is, you are still evaluated. So in other words, what this benefactor said is you're still going to have a full career like you usually would, but you will not depend on the income of it because I've taken care of that part. If that were an offer made to you, would is there still a part of you that would want to do what you've chosen? Does that make sense? It's a question to help you determine whether what you're doing is aligned with who you are. Because for many of us, and this is true in life, not just career, this is true in life, we do things because of survival. We do things because, we have bills. We do things because we don't want to depend on people. We do things. So there's a very practical basis for why we may do a lot of things. So we're not necessarily thinking about alignment. Okay. We're not thinking about alignment, right? Yeah. So that's the scenario is if the bills were paid, and that's just that part, but everything else needed to be in place. The career, the manager, the leveling up, promotion, all those expectations were still in place, but you just didn't have to worry about the money part of it. Would you wake up in the morning still wanting to do this thing? If the answer is absolutely not, because again, that changes. There are some days I wake up, I'm so excited to work. And there are some days I wake up, I could miss work for that day. You understand? Yeah. But so I'm not saying, every single day you will want to know. What I'm saying is if you wake up and the prospect of working in that field is a deep-seated absolute no, then you're probably not aligned in that field. Okay. Now, if the answer is why not? There's aspects I enjoy. Not having to worry about the money would remove the stress of the money making. And without that stress, I would actually have a pretty good time. Then you're probably aligned enough because alignment too is a matter of degree. Nothing is going to be 100% aligned. Yes. So alignment is also by degree, but you're probably fairly aligned. And then whatever difficulty you're experiencing is struggle, right? It's struggle because when you graduate from competency level to competency level, it's always through struggle. Nobody levels up easily. Nobody levels up. Leveling up requires struggle, right? Like every engineer in here, there was a time you didn't know how to print Hello World to the console. And even the prospect of printing Hello World to the console felt like a big deal. But now it's nothing, right? So that's how competency works. To go from level to level, you will struggle, right? But the question is it just that struggle that comes with leveling up in competency, or is it a deep-seated misalignment? Okay? Is it a deep-seated misalignment? Does that make sense? Yeah. So that's how I would answer that. Pivoting, I don't think you should pivot until you are misaligned. Because you see, if you pivot because of struggle, you will pivot forever. It doesn't matter what you're doing, you will struggle at some point. It is part of life. It is a requirement of leveling up. Leveling up requires struggle. Leveling up requires difficulty. Leveling up requires a sense of, I can't do it. I'm not made for this. I'm not cut out for this. I don't know. This is hard. This is hurting my brain. It's part of it. It's part of it. So if whenever you come up against that feeling, you are immediately pivoting. That is how you will pivot until the day you die. And you will not achieve mastery. The price of mastery is struggle. I don't care what nobody say. And it is true in every field. The price of mastery is struggle. And why do you care about mastery? You know why? Particularly in tech. You care about mastery because you see where you are right now. There are like 1,000 people per you. For each one of you, there are 1,000 people learning what you know currently, and they are coming up behind you. And it's cheaper to pay them. That's why growth is important. Because where you are right now and what you're comfortable with, there are people learning it right now. And once they learn it, because they are newer, it's cheaper to pay them. You understand? Yes. So mastery is important. Increased competence is important. For you to stay the same level, It's risky. It's risky. Okay? So make your peace with the struggle. Stop seeing struggle as evidence of I'm not meant to do this. Stop seeing struggle as evidence of I'm not meant to do this. That's not true. You can be struggling in something and you're meant to do it. Okay? So the only time I recommend pivoting is when you are deeply misaligned with whatever it is you're doing. Like some people are just not analytical. They are just not analytical. They are very visual. They are very artistic. They are very intuitive in the way they approach their work. They are just not analytical. They are not logical. They don't, there are some people, they can look like my son. My son plays chess. He's like a chess, I wouldn't say grandmaster, but like he's becoming pretty well known in our neighborhood for chess. My son sees patterns like you would not believe. My son will look at a board and be able to tell the next 4 moves somebody is going to make in that chess game. And he just sees it. It's not, I've asked him to describe, and he'll just be like, Mommy, I don't know how. I just see it. I see it like it's happening in front of. That's just how his brain works, right? My brain does not work like that. I know that for a fact. Okay, yeah. So imagine if my brain does not work like that, but I now go and put myself in a career field that requires that level of pattern recognition. It's not that I can't do it. If I push myself and push myself and push myself and push myself, I could probably do it, but I'll be miserable. I'll be miserable because it's not aligned with who I am, like intrinsically, right? Yes. So pivoting makes sense with misalignment. Pivoting also makes sense when the market is completely against you. That's another reason to pivot, right? When the market is completely against you and it doesn't look like there's going to be any return or there's going to be any remediation, right? Yes. So, I remember, the quintessential story, Blockbuster and Netflix, right? Blockbuster and Netflix. Like there was a time renting movies, you go to Blockbuster and you rent the VHS. Netflix now started renting DVDs. In fact, Netflix started renting DVDs when DVDs came out before Blockbuster started renting DVDs. Then Blockbuster started renting VHS and DVDs. And then VHS went away and then it was just DVDs. And then Netflix started streaming and it changed the game. It changed the game. So now physical rental of movie. In fact, not even just Blockbuster. There was this service called Redbox. Redbox was like a Blockbuster, but they took it to grocery stores. So what Redbox did was, instead of going to a particular store called Blockbuster to get your DVD rental, when you go grocery shopping, there's a Redbox right there, right? And each Redbox maybe had like 10 copies of movie, 10 copies per movie or 20 copies per movie. So you could rent your movie in the same place you're buying your groceries, right? Red boxes were everywhere. There wasn't a grocery store you go to, you don't see Redbox. There wasn't a convenience store you go to, you don't see Redbox, right? Now, there's no Redbox anywhere. You can't find it. You can't find it. So that is an example of the market completely shifting away from something you were doing. You don't have a choice but to pivot, right? Even if you were passionate about Redbox, you put all your life savings into Redbox, but now you don't have a choice because there's no market for it anymore, right? Yeah. So that's when you pivot, okay? All right, moving on. Let's try and finish in 30 minutes. Okay, so I'm now going to cover in general 3 areas. One area is building in public. The second area is positioning. This positioning and value creation, I'm not going to go so deep into it because we currently have a positioning challenge. We advertised this challenge for close to 2 months, if not more. So if for whatever reason you couldn't get into it, I'm sorry. Maybe we'll run it again. Yeah. So I'm not going to spend too much time on that because our positioning challenge right now is doing just that 28 days of teaching you how to better position yourself. Then the next section is networking and accessing of opportunities. Okay. So the questions we covered here was somebody was talking about how do I be more consistent? Whenever I see those questions about consistency, I always say you're not hungry enough. Okay. How do I be more consistent? People asked. People are asking me, how did I do it as a beginner? I'm not going to get into my story right now. Maybe at a future date, I can tell more of my story. So building in public, building in public is about having a persona. That's all. You're not building in public for engagement. You're not building in public so that people will know that you are the best. No, you're building in public so that whenever people look you up, they will see that you're about that life. Whenever people look you up, they will see, yes, you're about this tech life. One thing I love, Faith, she's here. Mavi is another one. There are so many. Motunrayo's journey as a community manager. In fact, Motunrayo, your future, now in companies, they have what they call CPO, Chief People Officer. Chief People Officer. That is the person that is in charge of the people of the company, the health of the employees of the company. Motunrayo, if it is your desire, that is your future. Motunrayo shares her journey every day. She's posting. Shares her journey. Marvelous, same thing, posting her journey. Faith is here. Faith is posting her journey. Every single time you check their I've never seen Motunrayo post cruise. And that doesn't mean she does not have a cruise account. It's just that I don't know what it is. You understand? Whenever Motunrayo posts, it's professional. Professional picture, professional content. Even if she's quoting another person, Motunrayo does not quote bullshit on the timeline. No. I've never seen Motunrayo quote, they say somebody was twerking and then people are commenting about it. Then Motunrayo too will comment. No, I've never seen it. Anytime Motunrayo is commenting, it's professional. Even if she's commenting on another person's post, that post that she's commenting is a professional post and her comment is professional. Same thing with Mavi. Mavi's own is between VA Mastery and Jesus. That's Mavi. One of those two. So if the day comes, I see another topic, I'll say, no, they have hacked Mavi's account. Mavi's account has been hacked. That's how I will know. Because Mavi is consistent. Mavi will post that her, that is a will post that her profile, that her headshots. She'll post it, the one that she's sitting like this in blue, looking, and then she will put professional. Or is either that or she's letting us know that she's a child of God. Those two things. So what you post, Faith will be posting on her UI UX. One thing I like with Faith will post like her experience, like, oh, this client, this is what I delivered, oh, this client, so she's posting her experience working for people. That's what she posts. I'm not saying it because they are here. I'm saying it to give example. So now I know their personality. I know what they are about. I will not be ashamed to recommend Motunrayo for a position because I know that the person I'm recommending her to, if they look her up on Twitter, she will not embarrass me. So that's the reason to build in public. That is the reason to build in public, is to create a persona, is to create a reputation, not for engagement, but so that if people look you up, what you've told them in the cover letter or in the cold DM or however you reached out to them, what you told them and then what they see about you online matches. There are some of you, there is no match. You are so rude. The same account that you are putting on your resume, putting on your LinkedIn, that is the same account. That's, don't even let me go there. And that's fine. It's not a morality thing. It's an alignment thing. It's a professionalism thing. It's not more. I'm not just, comments on, whatever you want to put. My own is, have two separate accounts. Have your professional account. That's the one that you build in public. You keep it professional. You keep it clean. You keep it focused. That's the one you put on your resume. You put in your portfolio. You put in your LinkedIn. You can have another account that it does not have any identifying information about you. You can have that one. That one you can catch cruise all you want. So it's not a morality thing. Okay. I wish I can turn this. I can turn those notifications off. So it's not a morality thing. It's about when someone looks you up online. There are people that come to either technical bench space or miracle space, and they'll come. I don't know why people don't want to hire me from online. I post, nobody. Then you go to their account and you see the shit there that they're engaging with. Either they are posting or they are reposting or they are engaging with. You see the rubbish. Okay. Networking. How do I get into the right circles? You are in the right circle, Queenary circle. Queenary circle. Okay, so you're already in the right circle. So just be here. Okay, from here now, maybe you discover some other ones. But even if this is the only circle that you are in, I think you are in the right place. You'll be all right. Okay, how do I network more effectively? Let me tell you something about networking. If you are networking to make money, then you are networking wrong. Networking is a long game. Networking is not a short game. Okay. Yeah, so networking is a long game. It's not a short game. So that question, how do I network effectively? Well, I can share it with you, but I don't want you to get the idea that if you start implementing it today, by Wednesday, you make money. Networking is a long game. It's a very long game. But look at networking like building a foundation. You lay a foundation. I've said it before, especially houses here in the United States. Maybe Nigeria is different. But houses here in the United States, you see the technology of house. It has changed. Every 10 years, it changed. Different, modern. But the technology of laying a foundation has not changed in 100 years. It has not changed. Laying a foundation, it has not changed. Laying the foundation of a house is the longest. Let's say it takes 6 months to build a house in America. 2.5 to 3 of those months is just the foundation. I kid you not. Almost half of that time is the foundation. The remaining time, everything goes up very quickly. Okay, that's what networking is like. Networking is laying a foundation. Do you know in America they flip houses? They call it house flipping, where they will tear down a house and build it fresh. Do you know whenever they flip a house, they don't flip the foundation? No. They flip what you see on top. They may remove everything. They may remove just the walls. They may remove just the windows. It depends on how dilapidated the house is, right? So, but they don't flip the foundation. If anything, if there are cracks in the foundation or maybe the foundation is a little compromised, they will fix it. But you will never see them lifting out the entire foundation to trash it. And no, the foundation stays. That's how networking is. That's how networking is. Networking is foundational. Okay, whatever is built on top of it can change, but the foundation is this. Okay, so networking effectively. One of my favorite ways to network is engaging with people's content. Engage with people's content is a very good way to network, to let that person know that you exist, to let that person know that I am here. Okay, so engaging with people's content is a wonderful way to network. Another way to network is to join communities. Join communities like Queenary Circle. Now we're on Telegram, right? Now we have challenges on NAS.io platform. People are taking these challenges together. like on Discord, although we'll move it to Telegram, but right now on Discord, you answer, you take day 5 of the challenge, you now go on Discord, and other people who took day 5 are talking about it. That's networking. That's networking. Networking simply means making your presence known, making yourself known to other professionals in your field. And when I say in your field, it doesn't have to be your specific field, just tech in general. You understand? Just tech in general. So, for example, as a software engineer, don't say, "Can I find a software engineering community?" No, just find a community. Quinary Circle, we have engineering, we have design, we have data, we have product, we have project, we have VA, we have cyber. So within the community, we have niche, but as a whole, we are just techies. Okay. When I first started Quinary Circle, it was engineers only, right? But now we have expanded because I realized something important. The opportunities for engineering will not only come from engineers. Opportunities for design will not only come from designers. Opportunity for product will not only come from product. So we have to cross-pollinate. That's how it works. We have to cross-pollinate. So I can be a designer at a company that needs an engineer. So I will come with that opportunity and say, "Hey, I'm a designer here, but we need an engineer." Right? So if you now go and locate yourself in a community that's only engineers, then you miss out on that designer. Yes. So engaging with content and belonging to communities are my top 2 methods of effective networking. Those 2. There are others, but I will say those 2. Okay. All right. Moving on to the last. Okay. Moving on to the last. Okay. To the last page. Okay. So 2 more topics and then we are done. So this one now have to do with jobs, clients, and opportunities, global opportunities, and then balance and sustainability, which is similar to consistency. So we won't spend too much time there. Okay. But these are the last 2 areas of questions that I got. So under these 2 sections, people were asking, how should I get clients? How can I get remote roles as a Nigerian living in Nigeria? Then another question in this area was, how do I balance 9 to 5 or schooling? Some people say, how can I balance schooling with learning and building? Other people say, how can I balance 9 to 5 with learning and building? Okay. Let me tackle the clients. You know what? I was going to do it, but I won't do it again. Mavi is hosting a webinar. I think it's either this month or next month. I can't remember. And that webinar is going to be a positioning webinar. And she has asked me to be one of the speakers. So I think instead of me hosting my own, is it next month? Okay, darling. So instead of me hosting my own, how do I get clients webinar, I will just be on Mavi's own. So please, if you are not following Mavi, please follow Mavi. Because whatever I would have shared in the one that maybe I would have done, I would do it in her own. Okay. Because I don't believe in duplication of efforts. Yeah. So I will do it in her own. So if you want to go in depth, if you want to go deeper into this landing clients techniques and strategies, please make sure to register for Mavi's upcoming webinar next month. And it is paid. It's not expensive, but it is paid. Okay. So begin to gather your money small. Begin to gather your money. Okay. Yeah. So register for that because we'll go very in depth. Okay. We'll go very in depth. Yeah. But just in a nutshell, to answer for Mentor Corner, how do you get clients? You don't get clients, you attract them. You attract clients. Okay. You attract clients. There are 2 types of clients: motivated, actually it's 3. Motivated, 2, motivated and unmotivated. A motivated client knows that what they want. They know that they need something and they are actively looking for it. An unmotivated client has a need, but maybe they don't yet know what it is, or they don't yet know that this is what they need. You understand? So there are 2, so you attract clients. You don't get clients. Because if you have a get client mentality, then you become a beggar. That's the problem. When you have a get client mentality, you become a beggar. You start begging. Before you don't even realize it, you are begging. When you have an attract client mentality, you get partners. You get partners. You enter into partnership with people. But when you have a get client mentality, you become a beggar. You are now begging people to please give you a job. Okay. So the question now becomes, instead of getting clients, instead of saying, how can I get clients? What you should ask is, how can I increase my attractiveness to potential clients? And that has everything to do with your positioning. It has everything to do with your presentation. And it has everything to do with your professionalism, right? Which is related to positioning, right? So where are you positioning yourself? Where are you locating yourself? How are you presenting yourself consistently? How are you presenting yourself? Are you presenting yourself as, please give me a job? Just give me a chance, give me a chance. Or are you presenting yourself as a value creator? Are you presenting yourself as, you need me? Or are you presenting yourself as, I need you to give me a chance. I need you to just give me a job. Okay? Yeah? So that's all I will say on that. But please go ahead and follow Mavi. Because Mavi in her community, global, Mavi, what's your community name again? I know global is part of it. what is the full name? Please put it for us. Yes. So as part of her community that she has, Vera, you're laughing at me. Thank you. I know global is part of it. The global community, yes. So part of her community, the global community, she's hosting a series of webinars. The last one was last month. That was the free one intro. So now we are going in depth. This is in depth. That last one was just overview. This one we're going in depth. So please gather your money, connect with Mavi so that when she drops registration, you register and come. So that by the end of this year, you too can claim that you made dollars. Okay. Oh. How do I get remote roles as a Nigerian? You play a long game. You play a very long game. You play a very long game. Your chances of getting remote role as a Nigerian, in my opinion, is higher in the gig area than full-time job. I'm not saying it's impossible for full-time job, but it's hard. It's not easy. There are a lot of things that influence whether a foreign company can hire from Nigeria and hire legally. Okay, so it's much better, I think, to focus on gig. Okay, to focus on working for a solo person or somebody who is in charge of a smaller company. You understand? Yes, than looking for a larger or more established company, overseas, hiring you as a full time. Okay, and it does not really have anything to do with you as a person. It may just be the legal constraints that company has in the country they're operating. Okay, so and then the more gigs you have and the more work product that you have to demonstrate your value to people overseas, it will help you when you're now interviewing for the permanent job overseas. You see what I'm saying? Yes. So that would be my advice, is to get yourself closer to landing remote full-time job as a Nigerian. You need to be working with more foreigners in the gig as gigs. Okay, as gigs. Does that make sense? You need to be working with foreigners as gigs. Yes. Okay. Yeah. Um. So people ask about Upwork. I don't know about Upwork. I'm sorry. Maybe we need to find some Upwork aficionados in the circle, and they will do session for you. I'm not too familiar with Upwork. All I know is Upwork is a jungle. From what I hear, it's a jungle. Okay. Somebody asked about positioning for foreign markets. You have to network. You have to network. Like for example, Miracle Space, Masterminder. Masterminder is a business person, right? I'm sure if Masterminder, listen to me, if Masterminder is looking to work with anybody from Nigeria, probably one of the people he will call is me. You understand? Because we sit on Space together. We both serve as subject matter experts together on Space. He has seen enough of me to have a certain level of trust. So Masterminder is not just going to do his eye like this and just pick randomly, because there's money on the line. Nobody wants to waste money. So chances are Masterminder will reach out to me, or he will reach out to Technical Ben, or he will reach out to King Roberts. These are people that he knows, that he has formed a rapport with. You understand? He will reach out to one of the three of us to say, hey, could you generate a short list? He's not asking us to make the decision for him, because he's a professional. He will make his own decision. But what he will do is he will come to us and say, please, can you generate a short list of qualified candidates that I can interview for this position? Okay. So now, if you, sitting where you are, have not taken the time to network with me, you see me, there are people that have said it before. When I'm in a space, they join. They don't even check to see what is the name of the space, what is the title, what is the topic. No. Once they see I'm there, they enter. They are active in the Quinary circle. Mentor corner, they are there. Okay. So when I see them like that, when it now comes time to generate shortlist for Masterminder, how will I not put them? That's the power of networking. That's the power of networking. That's the power of networking. There are some of you, let me tell you something. There are some of you, you waste time on X doing nonsense. So now, when it now comes time to join Space and network, you say you are tired. I've spent too much time. Okay, the time that you spent, what was it benefiting you? There are some of you, you need to stop most of your engagement unless it's Space. Because I space more, because now so many of my mutuals are doing Space. Monday is Miracle. Every other Tuesday is Mavi. Wednesday is Technical Ben. Now Gig Circle. Thursday King Roberts. Because before Thursday used to be open, so Thursday now is King Roberts. I think that one too is weekly, right? Then Friday is up and down. Sometimes it's Ugo the artist on Friday. Thursday too is Guy Student Lounge, but he doesn't do it every Thursday. So sometimes if Guy is doing Student Lounge, I do Friday. Sorry, JC Speakeasy. I lied. Friday, every week Friday. So you see now I have Space 5 days a week. Before it wasn't up to that. So before it was just Wednesday, I think, which was Technical Ben. Now I'm up to 5. Those 5 spaces I attend make up 90% of my time on X. I don't spend any more time on X than in those spaces. You know why? Because I have shit to do. Because I have things I'm doing with my life. There are some of you, The number of hours you spend on X has nothing to do with your career, has nothing to do with your advancement. You are just there distracting yourself, entertaining yourself for nothing. So now the prospect of now having extra time to join Queen Ariton space, it now feels like extra. You need to cut that shit out. That's what you need to do. You need to cut all that other bullshit out so that the time that you're on X, let it be when Queen Ari is on space. I'm not saying it because I'm special. I'm saying it because I'm a good person to network with. That's all I'm saying. I'm a good person to put yourself on my radar. I'm a good person to know. I don't know Motunrayo from anywhere. I don't know Motun from anywhere. But Motunrayo is now earning dollars. What I mean by dollars is that, because people say, oh, when I say dollars, the money might get to them in Naira. But when I say dollars, what I mean is when we negotiated her pay, we didn't negotiate in Naira. That's what I mean. We negotiated in dollars. So whatever the exchange, it doesn't, I don't care about, because what I commit to her is a dollar amount. I'm not committing in Naira amount. You understand? That's what I mean by I pay in dollars. I don't know Motun from anywhere. But Motunrayo by herself decided not just to join the circle and sit on quiet. She joined, she keyed in, she began to network, she began to make herself useful. I never asked her to do any of the things she was doing, not one day. It was when I saw her doing it, that's when I now offered. I said, please, would you like to be an advocate, official of the circle? She accepted. From advocate, she became lead advocate. Marvi, remember, she became lead advocate in the circle. From becoming lead advocate, now she has promoted, now she's the community manager. Small time now, I will just give her the whole circle. I see her take. You know? But the point I'm making is that I didn't point her, I wasn't a destiny helper. You understand? I didn't see her like somewhere and then just like an angel. I descended and told her, Motunrayo, come, let me give you this. No, that's not what happened. That's not what happened. That's not what happened. Okay. So by herself, she made the decision to be active. You understand? Good. So, you know, this question of getting client, networking. Network is a long game, but it pays off. Okay. Balancing 9 to 5 with learning and building. The only thing I will say there, time has gone. The only thing I will say there is just accept that it might take you longer than you thought. There's a difference between somebody that can spend 24/7 on their tech journey and somebody that has to balance it with other responsibilities. Okay. That doesn't mean that you cannot make it. It just means that it may take you a little longer to make it. That's all. That's all. These questions of balance, let me tell you where they come from. They come from people feeling bad that they cannot spend 10 hours a day on their tech. Whenever people ask about balance, that's usually where it's coming from. It's coming from, I don't have the time that I think I need in order to make it work. Okay. It's just going to take a little longer. That's really what it means. Right? So if you have a 9 to 5, please keep your 9 to 5. Unless you have who is feeding you. If you have who is feeding you, no problem. But if you don't have who is feeding you, please keep your 9 to 5. Keep your 9 to 5 so that you can stay independent as much as possible. Okay? And then you also have to cut out other things. There are some of you, you keep trying to fit tech into your life. It won't work. You don't fit tech into your life. Tech itself becomes a life of its own. So for example, when I was learning how to code, my friends at that time will always have girls' nights. You know, girls' night maybe twice a month. You know, we'll just meet up, you know. It's so funny because I will still go, you know, I want to keep my friends even though I was poor. So when I go for girls' night, I will just order appetizer. I won't order food, you know, because where is the money to be ordering food? So I will order appetizer and water. You know, it's those that had a little bit more money that will be ordering appetizer, entree, dessert, and drink. Me, I'll just order my appetizer and I'll just be drinking my free water, right? But we used to meet up like twice a month, once a month, twice a month. When I was learning how to code for an entire year, I didn't go for any of that. For an entire year, I didn't go for any of that. In fact, some of them were even insulting me. Oh, who does Ari think she is? Oh, I heard Aris is now. People will talk. People quote unquote friends, they will talk. I didn't go for any of that. I locked in so much. I locked in. My daughter will go to sleep around 7. That's 7 o'clock. I will go because when she sleep, at that time she was now sleeping. Well, you know, she will sleep around 7 or 7:30. I'll put her. I had monitor that I use my phone to watch. I will leave because our apartment was so small. There was nowhere for me to study into the night without disturbing somebody. I can't stay in the room because if I'm in the room, my daughter will be waking up. I can't stay in my son's. You know, I could. There was no way because that's how small our place was. So what I used to do is I used to go to a neighborhood store that closes at midnight. they had a cafe area with chairs and tables. So when she goes to bed, that's 7:30, I will carry my laptop and I will go to that, just maybe 2 minutes drive, it's not far. I will go to that neighborhood store and set up there. And I will study from 7:30 to midnight. Every day, Sundays included. I was there so much, all the staff members knew who I was by name. In fact, the day they don't see me, they'll be like, they'll say, we didn't see you yesterday. I'll say, oh, sorry, I wasn't feeling well. They got to know me personally by name. At some point, the barista of the cafe place would just be giving me free tea or free decaf coffee. At first I used to buy. At some point, she said, don't buy again, just be taking. Because that's how often I was there. They became so comfortable with me. The security guard, all of them became so comfortable with me. Those that were working there. I was getting free coffee, free tea. That's how often I was there. Then, maybe around that kind, 11:30, midnight, as they're closing the shop, I'm closing with them. They are locking the door. I'm walking out with them every day for a year.